there, this is Tata, and welcome to the TNA Post Show. As always, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the star of the show, none other than Bert Maclin.
How's it going?
It's going good. We have quite a few things to talk about today, Bert.
Definitely.
All right, so before we get into tonight's show and before we get into Explosion, let's talk quickly about NXT. Jordynne Grace defending her Knockouts title on NXT this week against Sol Ruca, and I believe this is the first time ever that the Knockouts title has been defended on NXT.
Yeah, obviously to some it's probably nothing, but for us TNA fans, obviously this is a big deal. I was talking to I believe it was Io who I was talking to. He was like the one that called that he wanted to see this match, and I couldn't agree more with him when it happened, just because it was a great like clash of styles, and Sol Ruca's so good. And I'd actually like to see her maybe come over to TNA if they ever do another Ultimate X match, especially for the knockouts. I think she'd be great in that. But yeah, this was awesome.
I agree. I think she would be great in Knockouts Ultimate X match. But it wasn't just Jordynne Grace that was on this week's NXT. Hammerstone making his debut on NXT against Obafemi. And I have to say, like, those Hammerstone chants, like, people know who he is. People watch a TNA.
Yeah, and also I think a lot of the NXT fans pay attention more to other promotions as well, and so I think they're even before TNA, a lot of people are familiar with Hammerstone. He's been at it a while, and he's been gaining a lot of momentum as of late. I mean, lately too. You know what I mean? Especially before TNA, he was like the MLW World Heavyweight Champion for like, if I remember right, I think close to like 2 years or like a little over a year. So yeah, people know who Hammerstone is.
And they made me happy to see that people know who Hammerstone is. This was actually a match that I wanted to see. Obafemi versus Hammerstone. This was a meat match.
Yeah.
To quote Big E, a meat match. And one of the things I liked about this was the fact that Hammerstone didn't go down like a chump. Like, he actually got some offense in. It was no surprise that Obafemi did win, but Hammerstone looked great out there.
Yeah, I especially as someone from TNA, and then given like how long dominant his run is, I didn't think Hammerstone was going to beat him. But yeah, you're right. At least they gave Hammerstone something. But Obafemi was clearly going to win. He's like a very dominant champ right now, probably the most dominant champ next to Roxanne in NXT. So
yes, and then we also find out that Jordynne, because of what happened on NXT, Jordynne Grace will be facing Wendy Choo for the Knockouts title.
And why I'm not as excited about that matchup, I'm more excited at the potential of Rosemary and Wendy Choo teaming up more in TNA going forward. Hopefully we see that happen.
Joseph says, it was cool to see Alexander Hammerstone in NXT. Wasn't a fan of how he was used. Obafemi's on a roll right now. Yeah, that's true. He is on a roll. But, I don't have much of a problem with how that went down because, like I said, Hammerstone got some offense in and he didn't look like a chump. If he was made to look like a chump, I would be complaining about it right now.
Yeah, and, like, they're positioning Obafemi to be, like, the next guy, and that's the way when I watch the way they book him, that's where they're going. So there was no way that Hammerstone was going to win.
Yeah, exactly.
At least it wasn't a squash match. You know what I mean?
Right? I would have been pissed if this was a squash match.
You know what I'm saying? Like, real quick, like, it wasn't like they like went out there and fucking embarrassed. You know what I mean? Like, but and also too, it's not like just because Hammerstone is like, he looks like who's going to beat him. Right now, given the time, it's not like he's that high in the pecking order in TNA anyway, to where in terms of, like, people, you know what I mean? It's not like he's the number one contender and he's out there taking an L. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think this was fine.
Same. All right, now let's talk about this week's explosion. Honestly, I can't. I was very disappointed with this week's explosion because we had a one match, and everybody knows how I feel about the one match format when it comes to explosion. I'm not gonna get into it because we'll be here all night. But the one match that we had was Sami Callihan versus Frankie Kazarian, which I thought was a decent match. Frankie Kazarian won by submission after he put in the Sami Callihan the chicken wing. And we had the Around the Ring segment with Heather Reckless. We did learn a little bit about Heather Reckless. I always appreciate the Around the Ring segments because, again, we get to learn more about these wrestlers. But that's all I'm going to say in regards to Explosion because everybody knows how I feel about the one match format when it comes to Explosion. But what are your thoughts on TNA using the one match format this week?
I'm not going to focus on that because I don't like that either, but good for them, like getting around the ring with Heather Reckless that quickly. You know what I mean? She was signed like last week, technically. You know what I mean? It was probably before then, but we got the graphic last week. So for them to get this out, because I wasn't familiar with her, so yeah, this was awesome.
Joseph says he loves the match we got, but he agrees with me. He's not a fan of the format for Explosion. Yeah, I sound like a broken record every time we talk about Explosion because everybody knows how I feel about it. Like I've said it before, they could do so much more with Explosion. I don't know why they went with the one match this week, but I'm just not gonna get into it.
It's also too. It's like WWE has 3 shows a week. You know, there's rumors AEW might be getting a 4th. TNA has the main one, and then obviously Explosion. They need to not just put one match. They need to utilize that 42 minutes as much as possible, just because they're putting out less content compared to everybody else. So,
yeah, I agree. Like I said, I'm not gonna get into it about Explosion because we'll be here all night. All right, so tonight's Impact was a go home show to Victory Road, and it kicked off with Steve Maclin versus Hammerstone. I thought this was an interesting matchup. Hammerstone looked great in this match. Steve Maclin did get the win, and I was a little like, okay, Steve Maclin got the win, but where's Hammerstone gonna go from here? I feel like he's kind of directionless. But at the end, it seemed like we got some bit of a direction because Jake something comes out. And there is this moment where Hammerstone and Jake something are looking at each other, kind of like, okay, kind of like they might be a potential team. Do you see that happening? Hammerstone and Jake something as a tag team, as a heel tag team, or would you prefer Jake something to be a singles competitor in this heel turn of his?
well, first off, I really like the. Let me start with Matt. I really like the team of if Maclin and Eric Young team up. I think they fit together very well. In terms of something in Hammerstone, wouldn't that be something as a team? That's like a lot of it's a lot of steak in the ring. You know what I mean? That's a lot of steaks and weights and protein shakes. Like, what would you call that team? Just team meat?
I guess.
Team steak? Team beef? Because, but I don't. At the end, like all jokes aside, I don't want because what did we have? What the fuck have we been talking about? Like the last I'm not gonna be a hypocrite and say, oh yeah, I don't want him teaming with Diener and then go and then have him teaming with Hammerstone. So yeah, no, maybe maybe allies or something like that, but no, I don't. And then you're talking about Hammerstone taking L's. I don't really think that matters at this point, just because I think eventually he's going to be in the world title scene. But just right now, I think they're just kind of having him, I'm not saying do nothing, but kind of have matches with people on the card until they push him out. Like he was in the Ultimate X match. That is something. I don't know. Because, yeah, I guess he isn't really doing anything.
I really don't want to see Hammerstone and Jake something as a tag team because, like you said, they just separated Jake something from Diener. So it wouldn't make sense to throw him into a tag team. I could see a temporary alliance, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing. But I just don't want to see that as a tag team. If Jake something was already like in his heel run, I wouldn't mind. But Jake something's just starting his heel run, so it wouldn't make sense to put him back into a tag team. At least that's what I think. Also, too, I think that Hammerstone definitely has potential to be a world champion. And I still think he should have won with his feud against Josh Alexander.
And you could also add that Jake something should have won the X Division champ, whether it was a short run. I think there was a time to really do something with him, and I'm not saying that it's past, but it would have meant more then than it does now.
True. And I guess him not winning something kind of justifies his heel turn when you think about it, because he really just kind of just been there since he came back. He hasn't really done much. So you could say it just adds to his heel turn.
Yeah. And then also just real quick being lazy, and maybe I'm just also thinking maybe hammer something as their team. That's just like, I feel like all companies do that, like, oh, let's combine their names. You know what I mean? That's not really, you know what I mean?
We have to wait and see if it goes anywhere. So we actually get two promos, one from the system and one from Steve Maclin. The system basically just talks about the system reboot that they're working on. Moose says that Lish is still going to be queen of the knockouts. JDC is going to be the loose cannon. He's going to be a 4-time world champion. Myers will be a tag team champion again. And of course, you always trust the system. So I feel like this is just your typical system promo. We'll see if the system fails to reboot at Victory Road, or if they will successfully reboot.
I laughed at Moose calling JDC loose cannon. I laughed at that, but I like how they've ingratiated him, and it's just, you know what I mean? He's a member now, and like, I'll even admit that, because I wasn't a fan of his in WWE until really, like, I guess like the Fashion Files with him and Tyler Breeze was funny and entertaining, but I think he's much better in TNA than he was in WWE. So yeah, this was funny.
First off, I like the Fashion Files. Breezango was hilarious together. I'm so sad they never won the tag team titles on the main roster.
Tyler Breeze would be good in TNA.
He definitely would be.
And I also like calling, acknowledging Queen Alicia. And I still like, I like her wearing her neck brace. She's selling the shit out of it. You know what I mean? Like, more heels need to do that. So we're gonna get into the predictions but really, like, and I'm not gonna spoil when we talk about it. I'm just gonna add, I don't want them to lose, but it's almost like they're putting me in a corner, us in a corner, because we want Danny Luna and Jody Threat to win, because if they don't win, they're gonna break up, and would that be one team? So even though I don't want Alicia to lose, I feel like it's inevitable.
All right. So next we get the the official in-ring debut of Heather Reckless as a TNA knockout against Gisele Shaw. As we learned last week, Gisele Shaw requested and was granted her release, and she put Heather Reckless over in this match. I do think Heather Reckless has potential. She's only 24. Ash by Elegance actually distracts Gisele Shaw, gets her back from last week, and so Heather Reckless is victorious here. I think there's something brewing. I'll talk more about it when we get to Ash by Elegance segment. But it's sad to see Gisele Shaw go. I wish her well. She's an amazing talent. Wherever she lands, it's going to be a fantastic addition to the roster. I'm just sad that she didn't get a chance to become Knockouts champion or Knockouts tag team champion.
Yeah, why it is. Yeah, it is sad that this is her last match. I think there's like a lot of things to look forward, not just here, and then also going more through the show. But yeah, Heather Reckless gets her first win. Gisele puts her over. There's really not much more to say.
Yeah. Joseph says at the premiere of Maple Leaf Wrestling Forged in Excellence, Gisele Shaw will challenge Athena for the ROH Women's title. Gisele will be the 24 challenge for Athena. I think that's going to be a fantastic match.
Yeah, that definitely should be.
So we get another Xia Li vignette that says coming soon. I think Xia, like we mentioned last week, I think Xia Li will be a fantastic addition to the Knockouts roster. I think that TNA will do a really good job of turning her into a massive star because that's the one thing that TNA does correctly. They take talent that was underutilized, underappreciated, and they turn them into stars. Like what they did with Steve Maclin, Deonna Purrazzo, even Trinity. You know, they know how to showcase talent.
That I couldn't have said it better. Especially, and what I like about this is because even though I feel like she was with NXT for not a long time, but she was there sometime, and yeah, Tina, I didn't see much of her because it didn't seem like NXT did anything with her. So I think there's a lot TNA could do. There's a lot of potential we could see just because I don't think we've seen it yet.
Definitely, I agree. I can't wait to see what she does in TNA. All right, so next we get a Matt Cordona segment, and remember, at Victory Road, he's going to be facing Rhino and PCO, and he chooses SDL as his tag team partner. And I really like how he's like, no finger poke of doom and no screw job. And he basically threatens to deport her back to Australia if she doesn't do what he says.
Yeah, I better not. We better not see Earl Hebner anywhere near that match. No San Antonio screw job. Yeah, no, this was a very funny segment.
I agree. And then PCO chokeslammed him. So.
Well, not before SDL kicked him right in the Cordonas.
Yeah. Poor Matt. I felt for him during that part, but can't say he didn't deserve it.
That's true.
He picked Steph because he wants to show TNA what deathmatch royalty is. He is a macho king of the Indies, and Steph is supposed to be the queen. Why do I feel like we'll find out at Victory Road if this was a trick or Matt to get back his digital media championship? The thing is, and see, I bought this up recently. The thing is, like, SCL was the one who started flirting with PCO even before PCO had the digital media title. So I don't know. We'll talk more about that when we get to predictions.
Yeah, because I have a lot. Yeah, I have a lot to say about this.
Same. So we get a Spitfire segment, and basically they're just talking about a Jody threat, pretty much putting a stipulation on that if they lose, they're splitting up, and it's basically do or die for Spitfire. They either win or they split up.
This was one of the highlights of the show, the way this was shot. Like, Gia was there. This was because it wasn't like a typical interview. It was almost like they were just like hanging out and talking, but it was serious shit they were talking about. Yeah. Again, we'll talk about this more later, but yeah, I think it's pretty well. I think it's a given what's going to happen on tomorrow.
I think so too. So we get a fun tornado tag match with ABC and First Class, and I have to say, like, I really like this match, but so far it seems like First Class can't get it together. This is the second time they lose, so I wonder if this is like storyline wise, like when Rich Swann comes back, they're gonna kick Casey Navarro out because like he's the reason that they're losing.
No, I actually think the opposite. I think that when Rich Swann comes back, they'll have the advantage and they'll be even stronger. And I think that's when they're going to win the titles. Hopefully, Freebird rule them. I love when trios do that. I just think because it makes for interesting matchups. So yeah, no, I don't think they're going to kick Casey out because I think he fits very well.
I think he's got a similar style to Rich Swann.
Yeah, because I hope Rich Swann comes back, but if for some reason he could never come back, I think Casey Navarro fits. You know what I mean? I hope he does not leave this group.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So we get an interesting Gresham Yannick, basically talking about a shedding of a mask and a rebirth. So this is interesting because does this mean they're still doing the whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing with Gresham, or are they dropping this whole like mask gimmick from him?
You would think that, but then didn't Hannafin or Raywald say that he doesn't know what he's doing? What he's got two people pulling. What did he say? He said something like he's got someone like he doesn't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he said something like that on commentary, like he doesn't know who he is, or he's got this alter ego. I hope they're not dropping this just because that's stupid. And I don't remember TNA ever doing that a lot or recently. But if they do, I guess shit happens. They might have thought this is dumb. Let's just stop now. But I thought while it wasn't necessarily my thing, I thought they were finding a little bit of momentum just because it was a character for Jonathan Gresham. He never had one. So
Mm-hmm. I'm hoping they stick with the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of thing,
yeah, yeah. When you said that at first, I'm like, I do like this now. So I hope they stick with it.
First class should be Joseph agrees with you. First class could be a trio if they bring back Rich. I agree. Casey's been a great addition. Yeah, if they bring back Rich, because we don't know if he's coming back.
I think he will.
Hopefully he does. So next we get, could be a case where Jonathan wrestles under both faces depending on the feud. Okay, I can see that. We get a Joe Hendry segment, and Joe Hendry never fails to make me laugh. He called Josh Alexander a Kurt Angle from Wish. And he compared him to Jesse Pinkman. If you don't know who Jesse Pinkman is, he is a character on A&E, AMC's Breaking Bad from a couple years ago. And so is Walter White. It was a really good show. If you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. But I thought this was hilarious. And honestly, one of the things I really liked about this was how serious Joe Hendry got after that video, after the video of Josh Alexander played, because we don't really see a serious side of Joe Hendry, and I really like this.
This was, first of all, the crowd was hot tonight. This was a great crowd. Like, as soon as it was funny because, like, it was not inevitable. We kind of like, okay, Joe Hendry's going to do a video. But then for Josh to be up in the balcony and him, to be like, no, I know you're going to do that. And like, he's like, make me laugh, funny man. Like this, Josh is killing as a heel. And while you said that he called him a Kurt Angle from Wish, didn't he also call him a wiener?
The walking wiener.
That's way fun. That made me laugh. Because it's just like, and then like, when Josh finally started to lose it, this was a great segment.
I agree. This was a really fun segment. I liked it a lot. So, I'm very curious to see how their match at Victory was going to play out. I have a feeling, but we'll get into that when we get into predictions. So we get Jordynne Grace. It's Grace meets Grace. Jordynne Grace meets Ariana Grace. Jordynne Grace basically asking Ariana if Wendy Chu's in the building because she's not welcomed in TNA after what she did to Jordynne Grace. And Ariana promises Jordynne Grace and nothing's going to happen to her. Missed opportunity for Ariana to interact with her dad. I really wanted to see an interaction between them.
Yeah, I hope Ariana's back, and this just wasn't for this taping, but yeah. I also like how Jordan's like, who uses a pillow? Because I think that was funny. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm like, a lot of people probably agree with that because I'm like, I still don't get that gimmick. So that was funny. That popped me. So yeah, I hope we get more Ariana Grace going forward. And then this was another fun segment.
I agree. We get a Mike Santana promo, and he's basically talking about how he's made his intentions. He's coming after the TNA World Title, and he means no disrespect to Nic Nemeth, but he wants Moose to win the World Title, which makes sense because Moose took him out of that tournament at Slammiversary, so he wants to get back at Moose, and he said he's gonna make Moose suffer after Victory Road. What are your thoughts on this?
Mike Santana just continues to show that, for whatever reason, whatever happened to LAX, he made the right decision just on betting on himself. He's a main eventer all day. So I really like this.
Same. I liked it. I definitely do think he's going to be world champion. I don't know if he's going to be the one to take the title off of Nic Nemeth, but he's definitely going to be world champion.
No, I don't think it happens this year, but I do think that he's the future TNA world champion.
Joseph says Santana was handcuffed in his tag team with Ortiz. He's doing some of his best stuff since he came back to TNA. That is true. He has been doing some good stuff. So we get Ash by Elegance versus Xia Brookside. I was kind of a little confused, like, why are we revisiting this feud? I thought we had moved past this, but the finish made sense. You had Heather Reckless returning the favor and helping Ash by Elegance in this match, which allowed Ash by Elegance to be victorious. Now, I know after this we get a Nic Nemeth promo, but before we get into it, I'm going to just talk about the Ash by Elegance segment that followed because it plays into this. So, like, after the match, she's, like, looking in the mirror, and Heather approaches her, and she thinks it's interesting that someone is helping her. And, the pro center concierge gives Heather a card and tells her that she wants personal makeover to give him a call. So this is interesting because it seems like we're getting the formation of a new Knockouts tag team, which makes sense depending on what happens at Victory Road. We might see one team break up and a new team emerge. What are your thoughts on this?
So what you're saying is the next knockout champs are going to be Reckless Elegance.
Oh, I like that.
See, that's being lazy again, but that one sounds better.
I really like that. Reckless Elegance. What do you guys think of that name? If that's what they call them, you heard it here first, okay? You heard it here first.
Because I was going to say when Gisele and her teamed up, they could call themselves Quintessential Elegance, but that's more of a mouthful. But Reckless Elegance sounds it rolls off the tongue a little bit more. But yeah, I do like this. Yeah, no, this was good.
Same. I felt like there was only so much you could do with Ash as a singles competitor, but now tossing her into a tag team, there's so much more you can do.
This should have been the gimmick. This should have been what they did from the start. They did this to themselves, and it's not like I'm like criticizing them, but they shot her right to the top in terms of she shouldn't have been in the world title feud that quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like they could have paired her up. Like if her first feud hadn't been with Xia Brookside, I could have seen them. I could have seen her be paired up with Xia Brookside.
Definitely. So this works. This works too. I just think this works better just because I think Xia Brookside has top babyface potential. So, and you know what I mean. I think Heather Reckless. I think she's going to be better as a heel anyway at this point with Ash. So I do like this.
I agree. It felt like they needed somebody to keep Jordynne relevant, but they don't know who will be the next knockout champion. I honestly felt like it was going to be Gisele Shaw. I really did think that. Now that she's gone, if Xia Li is signed to like an actual contract, I definitely do think Xia Li will be the one to dethrone Jordynne Grace.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So we get a Nic Nemeth promo. Mind you guys, this comes after the Ash by Elegance match and before her segment, but you know, we're talking about it now since the other two will, fit together. So he's basically talking about like Victory Road and about Moose and about how he's basically faced all of the heroes that Moose tagged on social media and how he's gonna get the victory at Victory Road and Moose is gonna get the road. I thought this was a good promo by Nic Nemeth. I think he's doing a great job as TNA World Champion. Your thoughts on this promo?
Yeah, because he's like almost like how people say the term like the uncrowned. He's almost like the uncrowned TNA guy. He feels very much like a TNA guy. I like him as champion. I think the plan was always going to be a transitional champion. I don't think he's losing to Moose, but I definitely did like this promo. I do like Nic Nemeth as a whole and as a champion.
I definitely don't think he's gonna have a long title reign, but if he gets past Moose at Victory Road, I kind of feel like maybe he'll drop it at Bound for Glory. Or at least hold on to it until maybe like Final Resolution.
Bound for Glory feels like a spot just because, again, I hope that we get a tournament for that just because I think that's the best way to, well, it's not the best way, but I don't know, just somebody going through that and winning and then earning their spot like that, you know what I mean? And just suppose, just like, again, a regular old, like, gauntlet match, you know what I mean? Or just, I hope they do that. Because it'll make beating Nic Nemeth even bigger.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And last but certainly not least, we had the system in the form of Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers versus the Hardys. When the Hardys were out for blood, especially Jeff Hardy, because the system sent him to the hospital. Here, one of the spots that I like was when Alicia Edwards got in front of Eddie Edwards and she's with her neck brace and stuff. I think she knocked it out of the park with that spot.
Yeah, it looks like the system had like another new shirt. They're like printing merch.
They
like
are.
this whole like Team USA gimmick they have. Yeah, they're like print merch. So good for them. Yeah, the Hardys winning was, I don't know. It seemed like a given. So this was good. This was a fun match. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, but this was a fun match.
I don't think there was any way the Hardys were going to lose this match.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought this was a fantastic go-home show to Victory Road.
Definitely.
It got me excited.
This is a great show.
Mm-hmm. It certainly was. And I think that's one thing that TNA also does good is that they have a lot of good go-home shows. Not one go-home show feels like doesn't feel like a go-home show. You get me? Like it feels like they're getting you prepared and excited for the Plus special or for the pay-per-view. So this was great. All right. So what about Victory Road predictions?
Yes.
Okay. How many matches we got? 9, right? I think.
I believe so. Hold up. We have 10.
Oh, 10. Okay.
Okay. So we have Eric Young and Steve Maclin versus Hammerstone and Jake. Something looks like that's on the pre-show.
Mm-hmm.
I would, knowing TNA, I would say that they would have Eric Young and Maclin win, but I'm saying that there's no way that should happen. So I'm saying Hammerstone and Jake something should win.
I have to agree with you. I don't think Steve Maclin and Eric Young need this victory. I think Jake Something and Hammerstone need this victory more for the simple fact that Jake Something is just starting his heel turn, and it's not going to make him look good if he loses very quickly.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. So yes, I'm going Jake. I'm going Team Hammer something.
Hammer Something? That's funny. Since I have to agree, Hammerstone and Something needs to establish themselves as a team.
even if they're not a team, they
Yeah.
just both need a win. So
Exactly. Even if they're not a team, they need the win. Steve Maclin and Eric Young don't need the win. They'll be okay.
exactly. Next we have, which should be what a match this is going to be. Kushida versus Leon Slater.
Oh yeah.
Selfishly, I would like to see Leon win, but I have a feeling Kushida is going to win, just because I still think that he's one of their top guy. You know what I mean, or near the top. So I'm going Kushida here.
Oof. I have to. You know what? I'm gonna go with Kushida as well.
Okay. Next we have Matt and Jeff Hardy first class.
This is a tough one because on one hand, I feel like the Hardys really don't need the win here. And I think it'll say a lot more if first class beats a legendary tag team like the Hardys. But I'm just gonna go with the Hardys because I think that if they're gonna challenge for the tag titles, they need to build momentum. So I'm gonna go with the Hardys. I wouldn't be upset if first class wins here. I agree with Joseph here. First class, the Hardy Boys don't need to win. First class will be taken seriously, at least this version, if they beat the Hardys. I agree. The first class should beat the Hardys. They really should. But I don't know if they are.
Yeah, they should win clean. Who knows if maybe Rich Swann returns and helps them. I don't know. Winning clean would be the best. The Hardys don't need this, and I know the Hardys mentioned what like tag team gold eventually. I think I think they should be aware of people in the back. Hopefully the Hardys are just kind of there help until they go back to WWE, because while I do think that they are loved there, I don't think they need to be. I think that would hurt if them being TNA Tag Team Champions. I don't think they need to be TNA Tag Team Champions. And yeah, they don't. First class needs this win. This would be 3 losses in a row for a new team. They can't lose.
I agree. So I'm gonna I'll change it to the first class because I think you're right. They don't need 3 losses in a row. I don't think the Hardy Boys need to win. I think it'll say a lot if first class beats the Hardys. So I'm gonna go with first class.
Next we have PCO and Rhino versus Matt Cordona and Steph DeLander. And did I hear right now? Is anything if they lose? What is there up with the contract that Cardona has? Is that, do they need to win this match? And if they lose, she goes back to Australia. Is that what the step was?
No, Matt Cardona said that if Stephanie does anything like the finger poke of doom or any funny business or a screw job, he's going to send her back to Australia.
Well, you had mentioned earlier that maybe, or someone like Cardona could like potentially being digital media champion. Is that what someone said earlier? Was that like?
No. Let me see. Matt said if Steph just stands there and looks pretty, he will ship her back to Australia.
I just don't think Matt. I think that PCO and Rhino will most likely win. Will win clean because I don't think Steph is turning on. I don't think Steph is going to turn on PCO, because I think eventually Cardona has his eyes going back to WWE. So I don't think he's winning anything major at this point. So I think PCO and Rhino win.
Joseph says here, I think Deathmatch Royalty wins because Steph has no choice. She will leave PCO, but Matt is blackmailing her. I could see that. I could see a situation where Steph tried to like maybe help PCO, but she accidentally ends up costing PCO the match and gives the victory to Matt Cardona here.
I just think they need to find a way. They're trying to find a way out of that supposed contract because I do think Steph stays with TNA long term, and I do think Cardona heads back to WWE or AEW. I don't think he's going to stick with TNA long term.
Okay. I'm just gonna pick Cardona and SDL here.
Okay. Next, we have the X Division Championship, which I think this will be the match of the night. Zach Wentz for Speedball. I think Wentz wins. I think Speedball's event. I think Speedball's they're gonna start moving him up. I think Wentz wins. I don't think they're gonna switch the title back and forth just like that again. So Wentz wins.
Joseph says that he's with you, Bert. Matt has said if he goes back, it has to be as Matt Cardona. He refuses to be Zack Ryder. I can see stuff with TNA for the foreseeable future unless she comes along. I know she's signed through the end of the year, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that match plays out. And I also picked Zachary Wentz. I don't think that they're going to hot potato the X Division title.
Yeah, I don't. Just real quick, I don't think that. I think since SCL's left NXT, that division has only gotten deeper, and same with AEW. So I think that TNA, she's really found her footing. From when she was in NXT, she wasn't really doing much. So I hope she sticks around just because I think she's improving the most being in TNA.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think Wentz wins. Did you say Wentz?
Yeah, Wentz.
And yeah, I hope they move Speedball up after this. Even though the main event seems crowded, I think, you know what I mean? I think it's time.
Same.
Next we have the Knockouts tag, Militia versus Spitfire. If they lose, they split up. I think this one's pretty clear. I think Spitfire's winning.
Spitfire's winning, and I think that's the end of the Militia.
Yes, well, I'm sad about that. I think that they're making moves to have, a few more teams. Like we might see Ash and Heather Reckless, and then obviously we have Spitfire, and then we could see Rosemary Wendy choose. But more importantly, I think this was even decided more before when Spitfire made that stip. I think the plan after Gisele would announce to ask for her release, I think they have to push Masha now. I think they have because wasn't it Masha that undefeated streak ended challenging Jordynne, or was that against Deonna for the belt? Do you remember?
I believe Jordynne Grace ended Masha Slamovich's undefeated streak.
So this has to be the rebuild of Masha. It's time. They have to do whatever time they have left for however long Jordynne is signed. They have to have Masha just, start becoming credible again. She has to beat Jordynne. I don't see anybody else. Sorry, I just don't see anybody else on the roster. I wouldn't like if Xia Li came in right away and became champion.
Mm-hmm. They're acting like this match will happen with Lish on this stuff. I'm surprised they're keeping this stip. I'm saying Spitfire because we don't know the size of Alicia. Didn't they say that Alicia can not summon, but have a replacement if she's unable to compete?
Well, that would be interesting if she could get maybe a surprise, or we maybe see a return of, I don't know how long Kylan King is away from being healthy, or you know what I mean. So, or maybe again, maybe it's somebody new, but yeah, I don't think that they retain the titles.
I agree. I don't think they're winning here. This is Jordynne ended Masha, I think, almost 15 a month. Yeah, she did end it. Okay. What's the next match?
Okay, so next we have Joe Hendry versus Josh Alexander. You go first because I'm very torn here.
Considering this is the TNA Plus special, I'd have to go with Josh Alexander. I think it's gonna be a dirty finish, and I think we're gonna probably get a rematch or some type of stipulation match at Bound for Glory. I don't think Joe Hendry's winning here.
Yeah. Now I'm even okay. Yeah, because while this is their first match, I do think if the plan is for Joe Hendry to still be champion, I think he beats Josh when Josh becomes champion. Just because I think the pattern is going to keep happening of Josh, either low blowing him or doing something dirty to win. So I think Josh wins.
Yeah, he's definitely winning this one.
And then finally we have Nic Nemeth versus Moose. Again, I'm also a little bit undecided on this one, so go first, please.
Okay. I think Nic Nemeth will retain. I think Nic Nemeth's retaining here. I don't think Moose is gonna regain that title. I know Santana wants Moose to regain that title so he could take it from him. But I think that Nic Nemeth, like how we mentioned earlier, he's gonna have a I don't want to say a short title reign, but I definitely do think that his title reign will at least last until Bound for Glory.
Well, I think I'm like 60-40 because I think Nemeth is gonna will win. But at the same time, I've been surprised before. You know what I mean? I think when Moose won the last time, I was very surprised. So, and I say that because let's say Nemeth wins. And what's the next show after Victory Road?
Bound for Glory.
That's in October?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's not a plus special, right?
No.
Okay. So that's a month time to build that, or however long. When is it like the end of October?
October 26th. So yeah.
So I just want to see how many shows that is. So okay, so that's 6 episodes of TNA and 6 episodes of Explosion to build, either do a tournament or to build a credible opponent. My point is, I just don't think that, like, if Nemeth wins, who are they? Because I technically is a baby. I just don't see what matchup is intriguing enough where I don't think it's going to be Kazarian, even though I think Kazarian will be champion at some point. So that's why I could see Moose winning, just because then it makes more sense if Santana is going to beat him. Yeah, I think Nemeth wins, but again, it wouldn't surprise me if Moose wins. He's signed to TNA. Nemeth isn't.
Damn, you brought up a good point. Damn. I'm sticking to my pick, though. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, I do think Nemeth wins. It would be cool if something happens after the match to just maybe lead us to, or just give us a hint of who his next opponent could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this should be a really good show. Just because I think since it's Bound for Glory next, I think something will happen. I think something big's going to happen.
I agree. I definitely do. I cannot wait for Victory Road. The road to Bound for Glory is exciting. So many possibilities. But as we get ready to sign off, where can people find you?
Just on X at Burt Maclin11.
And you can follow me on Twitter at @the_I talk all things wrestling, WWE, AEW, TNA. You can check me out on my YouTube channel, Rangers of Wrestling. I go live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, occasional Saturdays and Sundays. And of course, for all things TNA, you can catch us here every Thursday. But thank you guys all so much for watching and for the continued support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or whenever Body Slam goes live. And we'll see you guys tomorrow for TNA's Victory Road. Bye.